It is March 3rd, 2022, and we are at the CTAT Leadership Roundtable. And thank you all for being here and spending your Thursday afternoon, and hopefully seeing you guys work with each other and learn from each other is fantastic. We have just a couple of updates, and I'm going to share my screen real quick and do those. Jessica, can you hear me okay? Am I coming through?
Yes, you're clear.
Thank you. And everybody can see the slideshow? Okay, thank you all for being here. March 3rd, 2022. We are recording, so if these are Zoom-based sessions, and so if you do not want your picture shown for whatever reason on the screen, then you can still participate. Just participate with your video off. Otherwise, your participation serves as consent for us to post this via media platforms such as YouTube. Thank you for being at the roundtable. Breaking news and roundtable discussions is what we'll have going today. CTAT's always working to better together, and we appreciate it. And as far as COVID and support news, I'm giving you an update. This will be the last month that we have the COVID support and guidance slide up, because we're getting no news. That's good news. And I'm not declaring the plague officially over, but I'm declaring it enough over that we will not have this slide anymore in the roundtable discussions. For those of you that this may be your first time and you're not familiar with our CTAT programming, we do the monthly roundtables, which you're a part of today. For our beginning administrators, our coordinators, specialists, and new administrators, we have the Next Gen administrators that meets on the third Thursday of every month. We have the summer conference coming up. And also, we are still doing program evaluations. So if you would like a district program evaluation or thinking you might want one, just shoot me an email and I'll send you some specifics. If you haven't subscribed to the CTAT YouTube channel, go on there and subscribe, and you'll get notified every time we put new content up, such as these roundtable discussions. The CTAT Connect CTAT forum is a valuable asset for members. It never ceases to amaze me how much information you can get from this. Someone the other day posted asking for a schedule, and I bet they got 15 different types of school schedules back, and schedules, curriculum, handbooks, all valuable information that you can gain from Connect CTAT Open Forum. And of course, all the documents that are produced are stored there. And if you haven't signed up for the TEA newsletters, make sure that you go to the TEA CTE website and click on the tile. I learned last week that that's called a tile and not a button anymore, but click on that tile and you can sign up and receive the CTE newsletter from the Texas Education Agency. I would like to take just a few minutes to thank you for the fabulous conference. The content was so great and you all were so terrific. It was one of the best conferences I can remember. And it was all because of the participation that we had. We had more presenters than ever, and the content was just incredible. And that's all on you guys, because it's your conference and you make it great. And it was indeed a great conference. Had a big opening session. Jim Morris, who was in the movie The Rookie, was he was the presenter at the open session if you weren't there, and he was terrific. Several people came up afterwards and said that was one of their favorite speakers of all time, and not that he was super dynamic, it's just that the message was so terrific. Don't let people stand in the way of your dreams. We had, like I said a minute ago, we had exceptional content, and whenever you have exceptional content, and that many presenters, you're going to have some crowded rooms. And for sure, we had some crowded rooms, but it was still terrific. And you guys were so good about accommodating each other. I thank you for that. And I know that Robin and the executive committee and board members are looking for avenues, since the conference is growing, to move that to possibly a bigger facility. ICV, they were terrific, had Landry seafood. It was so, the participation was so great. We had a line going out across the bridge there. Thanks to ICV, they provided the social. It was just terrific. Social is always a big time. People moved on from the social to the piano bar, had just a fantastic time. Then David and his group, you know, there's always a few rowdy people at the CTAT conference, and we had a little action there, and kind of looked like the cuckoo's nest there for a little bit. Some bikers came in, and David and his group got in with a little bit, but overall, everybody was just fantastic and happy, and had a great social event and a great end to the conference. We're looking forward to the summer 2022 conference in Fort Worth, July 18th through the 21st. And we want to reach out to you now and start thinking about titles that you can present this summer. And probably it's not a bad idea, if you had a great participation in your session from winter, to go ahead and represent that, so people that missed it in the winter can see it in the summer. And thank you guys, and we look forward to those summer presentations. For those of you that have law and public service programs, registration will be opening soon, and we of course will email you that link, and it will be June 21st through the 24th in New Braunfels. It's a great opportunity for your law and public service teachers to get some training for industry-based certification, TCLOS training, teaching delivery methods, classroom management strategies, and the list goes on. We think it's going to be a terrific training. Also, we're adding some training for Skills USA competitions and LPS competitions. So we really think that this is going to be a great law conference if your law teachers are looking for a professional development home. We had some discussion at the roundtable about IBC purchase and reimbursement, and basically sum it up like this. And E4, this is from the frequently asked general questions. And you cannot use CTE state allotment funds to pay for certifications that you're going to get reimbursed for. If you're not seeking reimbursement, you can pay for it however you want. But if you're wanting reimbursement, you cannot use state allotment CTE funds. Usually we identify with Program Intent Code 22, but we got into some confusion because there's several districts that use Intent Code 22, whether or not it's a state allotted funds. But if it's the CTE allotment and you're wanting to be reimbursed, you cannot use those state CTE allotment funds. And the place that you can find that documentation is on the House Bill 3 Industry-Based Certification Reimbursement Frequently Asked Questions on the TEA IBC page. The State Board of Education put out some information in the Texas Register last week, and primarily it was talking about the new TEKS updates for education and training and STEM, science, technology, and mathematics. And we looked over those TEKS. It looks nothing new. Primarily, they're moving those over from chapter 130 to chapter 127. And so when we talk about the curriculum requirements and graduation requirements, they had to update some of the language in there too. And we sent those out in a CTAT chat earlier in the week, but it's primarily just wording and code numbering. So what used to say 130 in the graduation requirements will now say 127 in many places. I was working with Ryan Contreras at Salina ISD, and if you haven't been to Salina, it's a beautiful place and they have terrific CTE programs. Well, we were working with his business office because their business office is asking for FTEs to put in their template that they use in the business office, and what they need are FTEs as they're related to tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, or they're wanting the FTEs for courses that are not in a program of study, FTEs that are for level 1 and level 2, and FTEs for level 3 and level 4. And so we went in and we were able to make some temporary Band-Aid adjustments to the shared revenue projection sheet. And we were able to come up with the numbers for his district. Now, the problem is, it's like I said, it's a Band-Aid and it's a patch, because you have to do a sort. And then when you resort it back by service ID number, then it changes. But if your district is needing these numbers for FTEs, if you want to send me an email, then all you'll have to do is send me your enrollment column, or just share your sheet, your revenue sheet, and I can come up with those numbers for you in a matter of minutes. And Ryan's Contreras is on here, and he can also visit with you. But his business, we were able to visit with his finance officer, and she actually showed us the template that they were using to do some projections. So thank you, Ryan, for sharing this with us. Also, Sammy shared with us last week, I thought I'd go over, and this is based just on the schools that use EduThings. 27% of the districts are seeing a gain in weighted funding of about 3.16%, and about 73% of the districts are seeing a loss in weighted funding of about 5%. Now, this was kind of to be expected, because this is the first year of the new funding and the changes weren't necessarily made by all the districts. I expect for this to flip-flop in coming years, but thanks to Sammy and his group at EduThings, we'll be able to keep track of that, and we'll have better information as the 6 weeks move forward. So, as Elvis would say, thank you very much. And we're going to move in to, I'm going to stop the share and move into the gallery view, and we can open it up for any topic you guys want to discuss within the bounds of the quorum.
Mark, can we get a copy of that updated spreadsheet?
Who was that, Katie?
Yes.
Yeah, Katie, send me an email and I'll shoot you the share. And just keep in mind, though, that it only works when you, and I'll explain all that in the email, but it only works in the sort. When you sort it by tiers, then it gives you that information. But when you go back and resort it by service ID number, then it's going to throw them off. But I'll explain all that and I'll share it with you. Shoot me an email, I'll send you the share. So yeah, thank you. Hey,
We've been hand tallying it, so it'll be nice to hand tally that for them.
Lindsay, are you on here? Didn't we send out an announcement about Lindsay?
Yes, I'm here.
Can we make that announcement? Did we not send that out in an email? Or some of the
We have not yet.
okay. Hey, we don't have any announcements to make, but we will next
Soon.
week.
It's very soon.
Thank you, Lindsay, for not letting me stick my sketcher in my mouth there.
They're
All
very
right.
nice sketchers.
They are. They're brand new, and I bought them on the discount aisle. All right. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Ryan has put in there, is anyone having issues with Certiport? Ryan, do you mind coming on and specifying what issue you're having?
Yeah, Mark, we're given the Autodesk Fusion 360 certification, and my teacher is having issues with the students getting dropped while taking the exam, and it's being frozen and things like that. So I was just kind of curious to see if anybody else in the state is having issues with Certiport at the moment.
Anyone?
Laura, if you won't say it, I will. We've always had issues with Certiport. For 10 years, last 20 years, how long they've been in business, it's always been a huge issue every year. Just saying.
Ours has been worse this year.
It's been worse this year?
Yes, in Crowley.
I'm trying to take it up the ladder and, talking to the supervisor and everything else, but my goodness, I mean, the teachers at our wits with it, and the students they're halfway through and it freezes or it drops them from the exam. And, so.
Ryan, other than providing this forum for discussion, is there anything that you can think of that CTAT might be able to do to help out?
You know what, if this is what I was telling the supervisor was that, if the problem's happening across the state with Certiport, I think it kind of carries some weight, and maybe they can fix the issue. Because I mean, we pay a lot, across the state, we pay a lot into Certiport for these exams. You think we could try to fix it? I don't know if we can put together a poll and show them that, these are the issues, because I call them and they say, no, we're not having, we don't see these issues. So, and I know that's not true.
Ryan, why don't we get together early next week, and if you'll help me put together an email, then I can say that districts have reached out during a statewide forum with these issues on Certiport, and that way, we can ask kind of as one voice, and then I can send that out as an email. And so, if Ryan, do you mind being a point on that?
Absolutely, for sure. Absolutely.
So if you have a question, and Ryan, if you don't mind posting your email in the Slack, then if you email your issues to Ryan, then he and I will get together and formulate an email to send as part of technical assistance from CTAT, not as a dirty email, but just as a way to provide technical assistance.
Mark, if you want me to help with that, I can. I do work for Certiport on the side for the certification exams.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. And when then what we'll do is you and I and Ryan will get together and we'll do a little Zoom and formulate an email to send. Thank you so much. You have a great insight. Okay, fantastic. Everybody has a love-hate relationship with Certiport.
I have a similar question to you, Kristen's in the chat. Has anybody heard when we're going to find out anything about the new IBC list?
Okay, Laura, I called in anticipating this meeting. I called Donna McKethan, who serves on our APAC committee, and she is judging Taffy today, or she would be here. And so here's what she told me, is that there's been no updates or no changes. They haven't even met about it. However, if you get that Texas Reporting and Accountability listserv, then I got an email on that listserv last week that said that the accountability manual is going to be out for public comment in April. And it looks like, and again, this is a projection, a hypothesis, it's not proven, but it looks like that they're going to do nothing this year. It's going to be exactly the same as it was as far as CCMR.
Mark, I've heard the same for accountability purposes for the updated list at the leadership committee meeting last week. And Sherry or somebody will have to remind me exactly. I asked about it and they said that they're working on it. They also echoed the need for 2 additional staff members because I guess they're still going through 500 or something like that. And so they're still working on it is what I remember, but I don't remember if they gave the estimated date or not. It sounds like they know we're all anxiously waiting for it.
Thanks, Rachel. So that really kind of solidifies that, is that we anticipate there being no change.
Well, the problem is that the MTA exams have been taken off by Certiport. And so Certiport is offering another exam in its place. I don't remember at the time what it is. And they were like, oh, you could take that, but it's not being recognized right now as an IBC. So my wonder is, will it be in its place of those MTA exams for our computer science learners?
Ms. Keller, do you have insight on that? Unmute, please. Thank you. I'm sorry.
If you want to put that in documentation that y'all given, then I can reach out to them and find out.
Kristen, do you mind sending that to Ryan? And we'll put that in the questions.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mark, can you clarify the funding for the certifications? We've always used weighted funding to pay for those certifications. You're not talking about that, right? You're talking about Perkins and other special allotment monies, right?
Oh, okay. This is, and this, we have verification from this from TEA. You can, you can pay for certification however you want to pay for it, unless you're wanting to get reimbursed. If you're going to be asking for reimbursement, then you're not supposed to use state allotment funds to pay for the certifications that are passed. You can only use state allotment funds for certifications that are failed or that you're not asking for reimbursement for. Did I make it more complex, David?
I guess I'm just, when you're talking about state allotment, you're talking about weighted funding that we
I
received.
am. I
Okay,
am.
all right.
Right.
I want to make sure.
Right. And Ms. Nava, I haven't seen her on here, but they have an email in writing to TEA specifically saying that.
So
Mark,
we
I
can't
think
use
that,
CTE funding?
Ma'am?
We can't use the CTE funding, that 55%?
Yes, ma'am, the state allotment.
so my understanding is that you don't want to, because it's an either or. So you're either going to use your PIC 99 code and you put in a special account in there just for certification exam reimbursements, because that's what TEA said was best practice. So you want to use that code for your past exams, but you're going to be recoding regardless. You're either going to be your initial PO is either going to go to your CTE allotment, PIC 22, or however your district does it. And then any past exams can be moved over, recoded, financially recoded to your PIC 99 certification exam reimbursement, or you can do it the other way. You can code it all to certification exam reimbursements, PIC 99, whatever account you have within that. And then anybody who did not pass, anybody who failed, you move them back to either CTE allotment or CCMR outcomes bonus, is my understanding. Mark, is that correct?
Andrea, what you just said, I agree with 100%, but there is no mandatory way to do that. Each individual district could have different methods to do it, but the way that you just described it is the way that I would say it. It gets so confusing because if we have 80 districts on here, then there may be 80 different ways that they're paying and then reimbursing and journal entering certain funds. So, but yes, Andrew, what you said, I agree with. And Ms. Keller's asking, when are the funds reimbursed? Well, you get that front loaded, remember, you get IPC, and then the settlement process happens the following April. So the settle up for this year's students will be in April of 2023, which really sounds kind of science fiction to me that we're in 2023, but I guess that's where we're at.
But we're supposed to spend them and then get them back later.
Well, you get the money up front in your industry reimbursement, but if you spend less than that, they take it from you. If you spend more, they give you more. And it's called the settle up. And I strongly encourage you to use that frequently asked questions document that's in the on the IBC page. TA gives some excellent resources. I mean, it's what they provide now is really incredible relative to 20 years ago for those of you that were around.
And the outcome bonus, is there guidance in that too of how?
There is. It's a different sheet, but yes. Any other questions? Thank you, David.
I had one question because this is something that's kind of hit us this year. With COVID, we didn't give as many certifications. So the amount that we got this year did not cover what we've spent. And so my district is coming to me saying, well, you might have to come out of your CTE budget to pay for the additional certifications. And then I've been saying, yes, but you're going to get reimbursed and I'm not going to see that money back for my programs. So is there anybody that's experienced that, and how are you guys handling it?
Well, what you're saying is exactly right, is that the settle up's going to happen here in a month. So anyone else having those same conversations at your districts?
But the settle up for what I'm spending this year won't happen till next year, is that right?
April of 2023.
How do you pay for this year's certifications that you're still needing to buy?
Well, and that's the, and there's just not a TEA. I mean, Andrea there had a best practice. And if you'll shoot Andrea an email and y'all get together, the way she's handling, I think is the best way to handle it. But I hate to get into, because there literally could be 100 different ways to do it. And so, but I think without getting into it too much, what Andrea said, what others have said, setting up a generic account and paying for all certifications and then using the journal entry to, or then you're going to pay for the certifications that passed out of your reimbursement funds, and then the certifications that were failed, you're going to pay out of something else.
Yeah, I understand that, and we did that. It's just there's no more money in the account. So I was just trying to figure out how to continue buying. That was all.
And you're always going to be a year behind because the settle up happens a year in the future. Does anyone have anyone at a district have a good solution that you're using at your school?
Mark, one of the things that we're doing is I've convinced our academics people to let me use the CCR money that we got coming into the district to help pay for the second, third, fourth certification. And then what you were saying, the district's got a general fund that they could place more money in there, and this, they're going to get reimbursed in April. That's probably the only way you're going to be able to do it if you ran out of money in that 99 account.
Thank you, Mr. Winkleman. Anyone else? Well, thank you for that question. All right, is there anyone else have a topic or an issue they'd like to bring up?
Mark, this is Lily with McAllen ISD.
How are you, ma'am?
Fine, thank you. Any updates on House Bill 773 on the alignment of IBCs with programs of study?
Yeah, well, I've read that email from Accountability that said it's going to come out in April. And then Rachel and PT and Sherry and maybe some others that are on here, they had a leadership meeting. They're on the TEA leadership committee. Katie's on it too. And what they, if I'm hearing it right, Rachel, what they said was that there was going to be no change this year. Is that correct?
Well, two different things. On accountability, I don't think they're there yet, but the updated list should be ready at some point soon-ish. But it's not ready yet.
Prior to June, or did they say?
They've
I don't
been
think
very
they gave a
vague
date.
on a timeline.
Thank you.
Is that accountability as it pertains to House Bill 773? I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Katie or Rachel or PT or anyone else, was there anything else that you guys got at the leadership meeting that you can share or would be pertinent?
The majority of the conversation was around the CLNA and all the data that's available on TEA's website. So there is on the website, they've put a lot of the data for our local CLNA.
They are creating a handbook to go along with that. So if you haven't met with your stakeholders yet, that sounds like it's through like the 6th level of revisions that TEA has to do. And so that might be helpful. It has like talking points to go through with your stakeholders as you go through the data. The other thing was that the CTE summer grants is going to be coming out. And so I did post that. There's a Zoom on March 11th if you're interested in a CTE summer grant. I asked about Perkins Reserve grants also, and it doesn't, at this time, they didn't have any information on that. So I don't know if we'll have Perkins Reserve grants as well as summer grants.
Thank you very much, and thanks for posting that, Rachel. Awesome. Any other issues, topics? Rick?
A question I've got kind of based on House Bill 773, and maybe it's more of a comment. We lost military readiness because districts, at least this was said, districts were not being completely forthcoming with correct information. Therefore, we don't have military readiness.
Now, Rick, I can't speak for the rest. I can't speak for the rest of you, but I know ag teachers wouldn't cheat on anything like that. Yeah, I think there was some discrepancy in it. Thank you, Rick. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Now we're 773. They're talking about tying the IBC to a pathway or tying it to completion. Are we, and I've heard different districts talk about, well, what we're doing is we're taking all of our students that we know aren't getting us that point. We're putting them in a classroom and a room together, and we're all going through the NCSO certification because, hey, that's one that we know everybody can get regardless of what pathway they're in. It's a 10-hour training that's online, or they're doing, I guess there's one in automotive that is actually an open book test. And so are we not shooting ourselves in the foot by chasing after the fool's gold of, okay, we're going to move up on accountability this year because we're going to get students certified even though they didn't go? Are we not giving ammunition then to say, you know what, we have people go through a pathway and be a completer and have an IBC in order to give accountability points? Because if we don't, districts are going to find the shortcut.
Rick, I hear what you're saying, and and that you're right. That is the debate that's going around, but I don't know what are the other people. I have very clear views on this, and anyone else have a comment about who supports the way that they're doing it now? They think an IBC and a program completer ought to be separate. Anyone want to comment?
I know my opinion is not necessarily of doing, it's still part of the program, but we have shifted some of our certifications down to like level 3 courses because that's when it's most appropriate. And that's what we're really fearful of. If they're going to push it to level 4, that's going to be a problem. And so that's my number one concern anyways.
Laura, I totally agree with you. We have a lot of our certifications, and we can, if you think about it too, you can get almost the most bang for your buck. And I feel like that's like a Mark phrase that he would use, but that we have the most students for our district in those 9th grade, like early on CTE courses. And so we can get a lot more certifications done. And that's just an easier way. And then it got really convoluted when we were thinking of like, where are our students at in certain courses, and we can't have them taking certifications, getting credit in both 2 different programs of study. So for us, what we've done is we've just done that at the 9th grade level. And that's worked for us so far.
Right, and the NCCR construction core one is purposeful. It's aligned with principals construction teams.
Correct, and I agree with you.
Either.
There are some certifications we should be giving their freshman year. They shouldn't be at a completer level, and that piece doesn't concern me as much as a student who is in a welding pathway or a education and training pathway that we're not going to do educational aid, but we can have that student take the non-certified non-commissioned security officer level 2 certification. It costs us $40. They complete it in a couple of weeks and they can do it during their flex time. Okay, now we have a student that's in education and training who technically earned an IBC because they got that's on the list, but they didn't get it in the field that they're in. And it's not, if that's a one-off and the kid is really interested in it, I get that. But it's when you have districts that are putting 70 kids together to do that, we're giving ammunition to those who are saying you have to complete a pathway in order to have pathway and the certification in order to get the accountability point.
Rick, that's a terrific point. And to be honest, I haven't looked at it that way. And it's great to hear that point of view.
Well, and I know our high school principal, he's gone through the list of all the seniors that haven't met CCMR or CCR, whatever we're calling it now. And he's identified 10 kids that he wants to get certifications because they can't get it any other way. And I don't know what they're enrolled in right now, but they're like, just give them the MOS word test.
Everybody's gonna play the game, Mark. Ain't they?
I hear you.
We stood up in front of TEA, 7 years
Yeah.
ago and told them this, they was fixing to change the face of CTE when they did this.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. Everybody's gonna be chasing those certifications, but I'll tell you what, in my industry or in my area, all my industry partners want is a kid that can show up to work on time. All right, that's all they want. They don't care about no certification because they're gonna retest them anyway. So we've changed our focus and Brian on employability skills. And we are focusing really heavy on that. We give them an employability card. And so my industry, they don't care about the certifications. Now, are we doing it? Yes, because we got to get those CCMR points. And CTE in our district is saving our accountability in CCMR. About 40% of our CCMR points comes through CTE. Now, is it a good thing? Yeah, because they've shined a light now on CTE. And I'm glad that CTE is in accountability now. I really am, because now people are paying attention to us. But, is the certification good for the kid? Well, we could debate that all day long, right? I got a lot of kids in my district with OSHA 30 certification, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'll tell you, Rick, I've always been more in the Luann camp, and it's good to hear. But your point of view, what you're really saying is that we could be, what's the saying? Spiting your nose to spite your face. There's a saying that has a nose and a face in it, and that's what you're saying is we could be hurting ourselves in the future.
Cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Right. Right now, I'm with Luann until they change the rules. All right, fantastic. Boy, that's the best thing about these roundtables is get some great point of views and look at them from different regions in the state, different points of view from people who have slightly different positions. Fantastic. All right. Anyone else? Ms. Treat, you guys are fixing to kick off.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
so we're gonna start esports at our early college high school. We're gonna start it as kind of a supplemental class to our video game design while TEA continues to figure this out. But my question is anybody doing this? And if you are, what curriculum are you using?
So the question is, do you have esports going? And if so, what curriculum?
Mark, this is Renee from Comal. We have esports, but we don't have it as a class, and we're trying to work on that. We just have it as an outside club right now. What course are you going to align that to?
We're aligning it with evolving and emerging technologies. Just to close my door
for curriculum.
And Renee, Rick Bracey at Grapevine submitted a innovative course to do esports, and TEA sent him a letter back and said they didn't need an innovative course. They could use that emerging technologies. So I think that you'll find that that'll be the most common course.
And I think, I don't know, some of you may have worked with Julie Anderson in Region 10 to try to form a program of study to submit to TEA, but basically they came back and said, hey, you're just pulling courses from here and there. Try again, basically. So we're talking about possibly doing some innovative courses there, but we talked to somebody today. I can tell you who. We talked to somebody today and they have curriculum for it, but it seems to be that it's only for 1 year of the program.
It was mastery coding.
Thank you. It was mastery coding.
That's where we're at. Okay.
Okay. But from what I hear, Ben Barber up in Mansfield is doing something. So we're going to try to get up there. I don't know if anybody here is from Ben Barber, but that's what we were told.
Has anyone heard if there's any update on UIL bringing esports under there?
Mm-mm.
Well, the last time UIL took it up, it failed by 1 vote. So I like it as a CTSO. I think it's
I went to TCEA a few weeks ago, and that like kind of a fact-finding mission for us in esports. And I talked to a lot of the educators that had teams there about what works, what doesn't, how is this working for you guys? What levels are you guys seeing competition at? They had 2 different presenters at TCEA that were actual esports coaches. And the consensus I kept getting from the educators was that it was better for them as a club than as a course. The course that they've been using were kind of like building vocabulary, building like physical stamina, and the students just weren't responding to it. So they saw more engagement of the students with it as a club. So for my district is a smaller district, I'm in Coppell, that we would look at it as a club opportunity until which we see enrollment get large enough to see it as a program of study.
Do any of the CTSOs recognize it?
not yet. They haven't.
Yeah, that's why
No.
we're doing it in our class so that we can help pay for it.
Oh, gotcha. Well, no CTSO has picked up the flag and started carrying it yet.
And that's one reason too, that we've kind of put it in line with our video game design stuff as just an extra elective right now. So if TEA does pick it up, then we are prepared to do that. But for now, it's just an elective.
So we do have it here in Humble ISD. We have esports as a class. We paired it with digital media, aligning some of the TEKS that we're using it with. And so there is a curriculum that we use through STEMFuse is the vendor. They have an esports course that we've purchased and used through them. Also, Dell helped us develop through our IT department. There was a kind of a push from Dell for a little bit to develop some esports curriculum. And so we got some just some resources from them as well. Our most popular one runs as a class and as a very big after school club. And then we do have it though as a course on all 5 of our high school campuses, normally a section or 2 of each. So moderate popularity in terms of course, far more popular as an after school club.
Larkin, what did you say the curriculum was that you used?
STEMFuse is the vendor. Yep, and there's an esports one. They do a lot of different game stuff with Unity and Construct, and they have a lot of different curriculums you can get.
Larkin, do you have a link you could put in the chat? We always put this chat in, and we'll send out that chat.
Yes, sir. I'll grab one here really quick.
Thank you very much. Guys, one of the reasons that FFA has been such a one of the big organizations over the years is because those parents can go watch their students show an animal at a stock show. It's just like going and watching them play Little League Baseball or whatever. It's a visual thing, and esports is a visual thing too. And I believe that's why it has the possibility of taking off, whether it's a CTSO or not. Again, that's just my 2 cents.
Mark, we have esports here at Hudson, and I believe ours goes to the sports and entertainment marketing, kind of a different spinoff from all the rest of them, and they more of the marketing side of it. And we have the students like a prereq, next year will be for the students to either go into the digital media class first or principles of AV class prior to going into the esports class itself. And we're actually on April 2nd having a competition here, a large one that we're going to sponsor. So
PT, would you shoot me an email on that? If possible, I'd like to drive down there and watch that.
Okay, will do.
And if you're not watching the chat box, Miss Murr, how are you doing? She posted in there that Mansfield Timberview had their first student sign with Ottawa University for esports and probably a full scholarship.
Does anybody know where UIL is with it? Because my wife works in college athletics, and I can tell you that at the college level, esports is in most cases under the athletic realm, which doesn't seem to make sense, but it's a spectator sport. And like St. Edward's, I think, is one of the schools close to us in Austin that has their esports program, and it runs through athletics. And I think Texas A&M San Antonio does as well.
Great point, Rick. Yeah, I mean,
we lost a health science teacher this year to a university in another state to go be their esports director. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You don't want to teach health science and you want to go be an esports director at a college? Blew my mind. And it's huge. I don't know.
Well, I hate
and
to
it is
brag.
under their athletic department because he's under the university athletic director.
I hate to brag, but I did make it all the way through Mario, and I jumped on that turtle and got 1,000 lives. So if any of you need an esports person,
you're the guy.
It's a big deal. There's a lot of scholarships and stuff out there too, that it's, I mean, it's starting to grow quite a bit, and kids are very, very interested in it too. I know that if you look at it from just playing a game side of it, it's, I don't know, from my perspective, that's not the route that I wanted to go. I wanted to show let's go through and do the marketing side of it. Let's go through and somebody have to speak at something. And I mean, our AV class right now, last night even, they're going to be going and do video and the whole thing. They had a green screen set up with the announcer announcing the games, and had basically from the green screen there, they had the actual competition going along behind the student that was going and playing and stuff. And there were 6 of our students playing at one time versus another 6. I think they're way out of state somewhere. But anyway, it's really, really good though to kind of interact too with your AV folks also.
PT, one of the things that you were kind of saying there is so true, is that these games incorporate so many skills that we pick up in CTE: graphics, coding, marketing. And so I kind of hate for us to miss the boat on this, because I really believe it's going to blow up. But it wouldn't be my first time to be wrong. Jessica Locke posted in the chat that they have pretty good esports, and 70% of those esports students there are not involved in any other activity. So okay, awesome. PT, as from the president's point of view, do you have any announcements or comments that you'd like to make?
I would actually like to thank y'all, Mark and CTAT staff, for the excellent conference. I think that y'all put in a lot of work, and I can tell that basically y'all did everything you needed to do. I know that the space was tight, but truthfully, I don't think we could have done any better than what we did. I'm looking forward to that growing in the future. So,
well,
anyway, thank y'all.
Thank you, PT. And it sure was eye-opening to see the work that Lindsay and Angie and Leslie and Jamie and all of them do in putting that conference together. It's just the only thing I can liken it to is in college, we used to work on that Tarleton Invitational contest they'd have out there. We'd have 4,400 people out there. You have many people working it as you would in it. It's just a mammoth process, and they do such a great job. It's incredible. Okay, anyone else? We don't want to respect your time, but we don't want to cut off a conversation point if you have it. So this is last call. Okay, very good. I'm going to hit the stop recording button here in a minute. We'll have a little slack here at the end if anyone wants it. And but before I hit the recording button, thank you guys for all being here and taking the time out of your Thursday, because you're giving up an hour, a busy time, so that you can come in here and help each other. And it's very important. And that's why the CTE community is the best educational community in the state. And I honestly believe that. All right. Thank you guys. And you don't have to go home, but you can stay here for a minute for the slack. And thank you, Miss Murr. And all the birthday wishes. I turn 50 next year.